Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In Podcast. This Saturday, Michelle Waterson versus Angela Hill bumped up to the main event after Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira postponed for a little bit. You know, it's a very, very awesome night of fights. Might have rearranged some fights throughout the card, maybe made a little bit better main card there, but like I said, from top to bottom, very solid night of fights.
I'm with you. I don't think that the main event should be the main event.
Right.
But it does seem to be like a slept-on card, especially on Twitter. That's what I've seen. I'm actually really excited about it, like you said.
Yeah, me too, man. And last week, you know, this makes 2 winning events in a row for us. We were 3-0 on the Las Vegas 8, and then last week was, Alistair Overeem and Augusto Sakai. First bet we cashed on was Andre Muniz, man. He's so much bigger. I didn't bet the 2.5, under 2.5, but we did bet the sub and everything, man.
Yeah, we were so close on. Well, we bet the sub on our personal, but we were so close on picking the sub on there, and it was like a plus 350. That would have been a huge win for us. But
so much polished grappler, man.
And so much bigger whenever he got in there.
Absolutely. And then Michel Pereira, man, out of pick-em odds almost, he looked almost flawless there on the feet.
It was the best showing I've ever seen from him, and really composed. You know, we saw in his previous fights he would blow his wad really early, and maybe that was from the dancing or flips beforehand, but this one, man, I couldn't have been more impressed. I'm really excited to see his next fight.
I am too, man. He said after he got slapped in the weigh-ins, he made sure he was going to slap him back.
I totally forgot about
kiss it and keep it there for about 15 seconds before he just slaps him. That
was the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen
in the octagon for sure, man. We did sprinkle a little bit on Alistair Overeem by decision and kind of close to cashing it, but I'm
so close.
Not bad or mad about the stoppage, man. Those elbows were pretty vicious, man.
If it wasn't stopped, the dude might have died in there. I mean, those were 3 of the hardest hitting heavyweight elbows to the face. So.
And then, man, to snag Hunter Azur at such a just barely over pick-em odds, man. I thought that was a steal. Exactly what we thought he was going to do.
I think so too. That's 2 weeks in a row where we've called the decision win. Hunter Azur and then Neil Magny last week. And just to touch up on it, we're plus 6.8 units right now in the last two fights. So I'm pretty happy with ourselves.
If you're telling us, man, hope you're making some money as well.
Yeah.
And going down this Saturday, like we said, we got some nice strawweights in Michelle Waterson and Angela Hill. But to open the night, some more strawweights, man.
Yeah. So we start off with Sabina Mazo and Justine Kish. I'm pretty high on Sabina Mazo.
Yeah.
She's coming into this fight with a 6-inch reach advantage, and she's 9 years younger. She is coming off the win to J.J. Aldridge, which was
That's a good win.
That's a good win for a strawweight specifically. And then Justine Kish, she does have some decent wins like over Nina Ansaroff, Ashley Yoder, Randa Marcos. Those are legitimate. But then she's also lost a couple of questionable fights against Felice Herrig and the Ji Yeon Kim, who we actually just saw take a loss. I don't see very many avenues to win with Justine Kish, and I do see Sabina Mazo getting this done relatively easy.
I'm with you, man. So I'm pretty high on Mazo as well. I know in LFA she finished 2 girls with a head kick, so I really like to see her throw that in this fight. The reach, the age difference, you touched on everything there, man. Everything's leaning towards Sabina Mazo in this one. The younger, the more athletic of the two as well. But if she can keep that fight at range, I really like her to just outpoint her for a solid 15 minutes. Probably not get a finish there, but a solid probably 3-round victory, I think, for her.
I think we're on that together.
And the next fight is Bryan Barberena, who's 14-7, fighting Anthony Ivy, who's 8-3. And, man, this is a good fight. One that I'm actually really excited for. You got Barberena, who's never in a boring fight whatsoever, and he fights the top-tier competition in Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, and
Vicente Luque.
Yeah, right now he's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak to Vicente Luque and Randy Brown. So 2 of the, you're talking about, there's 4 top 15 guys right there that Barberena's had to go through. He's just been in some tough fights, and in my opinion, they're really starting to wear on him, but at the same time, he's getting bad matchups for himself, and Anthony Ivy is somebody that almost, the frame-wise and everything resembles Randy Brown, and if he uses the same style and keeps the fight IQ to top notch, he might get another finish, over Bryan Barberena. But one thing I've noticed about Anthony Ivy is I just don't think he likes to get hit. He tends to get backed up against the cage a little bit, and I think that's really going to play into Bryan's clinch game that he likes to work. Anthony's really got to have a polished 15 minutes of striking here, work the body. I know Bryan's got a little soft of a body that he needs to work as well, but my little hot take of the night, I might check the odds on this, but I think Bryan Barberena's going to get him down and get this one done by submission.
I was not expecting that at all. I like it, though. You made the comparison to Randy Brown. Mm-hmm. The exact same body style, just tall, athletic build. Another thing, I'm just not too hype on Barberena. I think that his biggest asset that he brings into the cage is his durability. Right. And like you said, that's only going to hold up for so long. It does. So, I'm just not sold on him yet. And those are real beatdowns that he's taken whenever he is getting the loss.
Right.
He's 2-4 in his last 6 in the UFC. Those 2 wins, really nobody to write home about. Jake Ellenberger, who was coming into that fight on going 1-6 in his last 7, and then Joe Proctor, who's been outstruck by Yancy Medeiros. Mm-hmm. So I'm not too sold on Bryan Barberena, even in his wins. I think that he's a little bit flat-footed and hittable, where Anthony Ivy, like you said, he's got the build to do it. And in his fights, all 8 by finish, some by sub, some by KO, and then he's been finished in his 3 losses. So he's going out on his shield every single time that he goes out there. At a plus 240 value right now, I really like Anthony Ivy. I can't see a UFC caliber fighter that Bryan Barberena should be a minus 250 against.
I'm right there with you. I think the bookies there, I think they're putting too much emphasis on the resume of Bryan Barberena there and stuff, but I mean, all of these guys have put him away and stuff, and on a 2-fight losing streak. Man, I like Barberena, like I said, backed into a corner here. I think if the fight gets dirty, Anthony Ivy's going to look for a way out, while I don't think Barberena will. And like I said, hot take there, man. I'm going to love to catch the odds of this. We've seen Anthony Ivy submitted in 2 of his 3 losses, and we've also seen Bryan Barberena get some good strikers like Sage down and choke him out. So that's my big play of the night that I might put half a unit on.
Okay. So I like the price tag on Anthony Ivy. So I am going to say that it's justifiable to do a little sprinkle on him. I mean, yeah, I like that. I like the Anthony Ivy pick. We move on to, great fight. Frank Camacho, who's 22-9, facing Brok Weaver, who's 15-5. I'll start off by saying I think this is Brock's only chance to get a legitimate win in the UFC. His one win that he has, it was a no contest because he got kneed in the head. Wasn't going great for him to begin with. And
he'll be the first to admit that. He counts as a loss in his book.
Right. And I know he didn't like taking that, the DQ. And then also Roosevelt Roberts picked him apart. I mean, really outclassed him out there and showed that he might just not be that UFC caliber. At the same time, Frank Camacho is lucky he is in the UFC. Yep. He is lucky he is in the UFC. He's 2-5 in his last 7. The only guys that he has beat no longer fight in the UFC. So even those 2 wins are not notable by any means. He took that Justin James fight, got knocked out cold. Yeah. I mean, I personally think that Brok Weaver sitting at a plus 190 right now is bananas, man. Yeah. I will bet Brok Weaver.
So I'm with you, man. Maybe it's my emotions getting the best of me because I love Brok Weaver, and maybe he is not the UFC caliber. Maybe it was his mouth on the Contender Series, that did get him got him the contract. But it's Frank Camacho, man, and you touched on him being finished in 3 of his last 5 fights, and when you being finished, like, this is no easy finish. Like, he's been put out on his feet. Justin James, you touched on that when he hit him with so many left hooks and stuff. I mean, it's bad, but Frank is almost too tough for his own good, man. He's been fighting since 2005 professionally, and there's not a boring fight Frank Camacho's ever been, and he's absolutely I think he's ex-military, man. He's there to take one, to land one. He's there for a fun fight, but, man, you said it. He's fighting for his job on Saturday, in my opinion. And Brok Weaver very well could be fighting for his job on Saturday as well. But no matter what, even, regardless of if their job's on the lines, these two guys are going to bring it every single time they step in the octagon. And unless Frank Camacho goes out here and, absolutely just utilizes the game plan that has been laid out for you by Brock Weaver's last two opponents, take him down and wrestle him. If he doesn't do that, I like Brock Weaver to point him across 15 minutes. I don't know if Brock really has the power to get it done because he's not a power puncher. He likes to throw a ton of combos. But a great boxer, man. The much more polished striker that I think can get it over to 15 minutes. And I really do like Brock Weaver at dog odds there.
Man, it's crazy to me that he's almost a 2-to-1 dog.
Next fight here is Alan Patrick, who's 15-2, fighting Mean Bobby Green, who's 26-10-1. I like to mention the one because two fighters on this card have a draw with Lando Venata. So Patrick, man, 37 years old, and he's coming off a 2-year layoff. So I touch on the 2-year layoff, but it's almost nothing for him because he's like the most inconsistent fighter on the UFC's roster. From 2013, fights twice, takes a year off. There was a point in the UFC where he repped off 3 wins in a row, and then he takes like a year and a half break. So I don't know if it's injuries. Have to read into it. 37 years old, probably I could see injuries starting to take a toll on you.
Especially at lightweight. To be 37 and at lightweight in those lower.
But just the inconsistency there for me, and then the veteran status of Bobby Green, who has been open about wanting to stay busy, continue to fight. And in my opinion, I think this is going to be the third win Bobby Green's going for in 2020, and this is the worst opponent of the 3 that he's fought. So I really like him to get the job done on Saturday. Probably another decision. He tends to go to decision, but his fights are fun. The hands-down style tends to bring his opponents into a brawl.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the things I touched on as well, is maybe the fastest hands in the division, especially from where he brings him down at. He likes to keep him at his hip, and he can throw a popping jab from his hip like it's nobody's business.
Right.
And then on the Alan Patrick side, I watched a Scott Holtzman fight. Oh my gosh, hot sauce, man. Scott Holtzman came in as a huge underdog. Patrick was the minus 275 favorite going into that fight, and from the moment it started, Holtzman took a shit on him. Something that I saw in that fight was that he uses his, not Scott, but Patrick, he uses his feints really, really well.
I have that noted as well. A ton of feints.
Yeah, a ton of feints that really disguise his kicks. But he also has a problem with lunging for his punches, so he almost is like running towards his opponent and kind of lunges in with punches. And we saw Holtzman start timing that, stepping back, and punishing him with a straight right. So I think Bobby Green, with his hand speed and everything, we're going to see Patrick open himself up by trying to close the distance, and we're going to see Bobby Green touch him up. I think that his movement will benefit him as well, so that he can kind of circle out when Patrick rushes in.
Yeah, so I told you earlier, he throws that left hand like a bat out of hell, man. Lunging is a great word for it because it's not technical, man. It's thrown from the hip. And it's not disguised or anything. I think the boxing skill is all there for Bobby Green, and I like him to touch Patrick up, and I'd like to see Bobby Green get a finish because he's been on the losing side of quite a few split decisions and stuff that could have gone his way. He did get his win over Lando back after the draw, just in his last fight, and after his interview and stuff, I told you before, became a big fan of Bobby Green. Anybody that grows up with a life like that, you always gotta root for, and I think everything's there for him to win on Saturday.
I agree. I see him taking this pretty easily. Now at the minus 210 odds,
yeah,
I don't know if I want to bet him,
I feel you.
But I do think that he's going to win. I think that he has a lot more avenues to win as well.
With you.
All right, next fight.
I'm going to take this one.
Yeah, go for this one.
My boy Matt Frevola, who's 8-1 with the draw there to Lando, fighting Roosevelt Roberts, who's 10-2. Man, this is such a good fight in my opinion. And when you first look at it, when you see these guys stacked up against each other, you're like, how does Roosevelt Roberts make 155? And how is this fight sanctioned? Roosevelt Roberts is massive compared to Matt Frevola. And then you go look at Frevola's record, and he's fought in Luis Pena. He's fought in Jalen Turner. He's beat them both, man. He comes in there with a solid game plan. That is one thing I love about that guy. He doesn't care if the fight is boring. He comes in there and he gets his job done and he gets his win. His loss Over Polo Reyes, absolutely. You run it back, it never happens again. Polo Reyes popped the next fight after that for steroids. That is the most juiced up Polo Reyes we've ever seen. And I mean, it was just a wild first round while it lasted. Matt hurt him as well and just ran into a right hand. Outside of Roosevelt Roberts' submission game, he's good on the ground, but he prides himself on the submissions and choke. The wrestling is really not all there, and that's where Matt shines, is the wrestling. And I like him to go out there and take the tools, the right hand, the boxing away from Roosevelt Roberts. And if it's a lay and pray, I don't care. I like my boy Steamroller to get the job done.
So you do expect him to shoot for the takedown?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as you said, you touched on Roosevelt being the much taller fighter, got 5 inches on him, but it's nothing new to Matt Frevola. That was the first thing that I noticed was, wow, the only other 2 guys in 150 and 155 that are over 6'2", he's fought
and beaten.
Right, and I thought that's pretty incredible. Now his loss to Polo Reyes, I get what you're saying, but that's a shitty loss to have on your record. I think it was a
debut as well, though.
So maybe some nerves and everything.
He went in there in that first round like looking to kill and ran into it. You could tell the jitters. He's not the patient Matt Frevola that waited for Luis Pena and Jalen Turner to make mistakes and take him down. You know?
Right. Roosevelt Roberts, his losses to Vince Pichel and Jim Miller, both those guys, it seemed like after a while they figured out that taking him down and kind of holding him there was the path to victory. A little more muscle could
out-muscle him a little bit.
And we see that with a lot of the taller fighters that just don't have the strength to somebody who's a little bit more compact.
Right.
I think I'll take Matt Frevola as well.
Yeah.
And he's at dog odds.
Yeah, but slightly under, right?
Right. It's almost a pick 'em.
Yeah, but this is almost a pick 'em, and I absolutely agree with it. And what I don't like, I think it's criminal it's buried this far on the card. This is a main card fight without a doubt, in my opinion. One thing I always got to say about Matt Frevola, man, I've watched him like 3 times live now. I sat behind his wife, twin brother, and parents in UFC 236 when he beat Jalen Turner, when he was a massive underdog. His family right in front of me, like his entire gym just screaming their ass off behind me. When you have experience like that, you can't help but like a fighter. And then, these next couple fights that we happen to go to, he happens to be on the card as well. So I'm a big fan of Matt Frevola, but I mean, Roosevelt can get it done, like without a doubt. I think my emotions could be letting me get the better of the pick and just leaning so hard to Matt Frevola, because I think Roosevelt Roberts is more skilled on the feet without a doubt, and he really can submit Matt Frevola. He could catch a guillotine or something on one of those takedowns, but big fan of Matt Frevola. Follow him on every social media. The guy stays in great shape all the time. He trains with Billy Q, who's also on the fight card. So 2 guys in training camp, riding that energy and stuff together. I really like him to come out here and stick to that fight IQ and the game plan he always utilizes and take him down. Probably win 2 of the 3 rounds.
I'm with you. It's hard not to yell out steamroller whenever he fights. He's a hype fighter. So I'm also really excited. I'm hoping that our emotions aren't creating a bias for us, but I think that he could get it done.
He's got the skills, and what he's shown against 2 taller fighters and what we've seen Roosevelt give up by 2 shorter fighters who want to wrestle him, it's there.
Right.
It's there.
Next one, we've got Julia Avila versus Sijara Eubanks. Sijara, it's not my most exciting fight on the card by any means. Sijara, she has 2 wins over Roxanne Modafferi. I think that's somewhat notable.
Right.
Outside of that, her losses, her last one coming to Betch Correa, and she's lost to Aspen Ladd 2 times now. Yeah. I'm not very high on Eubanks. She's 35 years old, just
kind of getting her career going.
Yeah,
35.
Right.
And having all the weight issues.
It might be a little too late. And then Julia Avila coming on the 4-fight win streak, so she's got a lot of momentum coming into this one. I think that it's odd that she has 2 fights confirmed right now, within 2 months of each other. So it's kind of like the UFC might be looking past Eubanks on this fight as well. Other than that, I don't have too much to say.
So I mean, you're right with Eubanks. There's not much to say, man. She got a late start on the career. She got a little hype going in the Ultimate Fighter there, and then it just got completely derailed with all the weight issues and stuff. She's had to move up, not doing very good, and the only way she wins is if Julia Avila blows her wad in the first round, and we see something like the Shayna Dobson and Agapova fight or something. Julia Villa, not many girls at 135 have the hype that she has behind her right now. She is came in at massive favorites over both Pani Kyanzad, who we both bet big over Betch Correa, and Gina Mazzani. And dude, she dusted Gina Mazzani with a knee to the body. And I think that's something that we could really see be useful here, because Sijara always having problems on the scale, but she was just scheduled to fight last week or the week before. So I know that fight with Carol Hossa got pulled really short notice. The weight cutting had already started. So when someone has weight cutting issues and they just cut last week, a week and a half ago, I don't like her to probably even make weight here on Saturday night. I like Julia to collect a little bit of extra purse, and just bet it actually before the podcast. Julia gets this one done under 2.5.
And what was it?
Plus 165, something like that.
It's
Big dog
good
odds. And she's dusted both of her opponents so far, man. Julia Villa's going to get this one done.
And I agree. I think even the price tag at minus 286 is solid.
Yeah, maybe not a straight pick, but if you can parlay that with somebody else on the fight, absolutely do it.
I agree. All right.
Here's your big one.
Here's my big one. I've got a parlay with Tyson Nam in it that will make me a lot of money, so I would really like for him to win. Although after doing my research, I was like, I was just hated it because Matt Schnell looks like the better fighter on paper. He really does. He's coming in with a 2-inch reach advantage and wins over Luis Smolka, Espinoza, and this Ano guy who I wasn't very familiar with, but he was 11-0 coming into the fight, so there's some legitimacy there. And then losses to the much better competition: Pantoja, Sandoval, Font, Tim Elliott. That's as legit as it gets, especially at 125. He trains out of American Top Team. That's huge. I think that's really going to help him. He has incredibly fast hands, and that's one of Tyson Nam's. That's like his forte is heavy hands. He's a boxer straight up, and now he's facing Matt Schnell, who has extremely fast hands and isn't afraid to pull guard. He has plenty of subs on his record. Has a couple triangle wins recently. He's good on the feet. He's good on the ground. And when we move over to Tyson Nam, he's a 125er who's 36 years old. That's really tough. And then whenever I watch some of his tape, I think I watched 3 fights and maybe saw him throw 1 leg kick. He's very boxing heavy. I would expect Matt Schnell to come in here and try and establish a leg kick really early, try and slow down any type of movement from Nam, and then eventually either shoot for a takedown or pull guard and get Nam into some trouble. One more thing, Nam, he lands 3 strikes per minute roughly and absorbs 6. So
with Snell power at 125, that's not a good stat going into that fight.
No, it is not.
So with me, I think I lean toward Matt Schnell in this one. But man, both guys not off to the UFC start they wanted. Both had a pretty good little following, with Schnell coming off of the Ultimate Fighter and having some good success, losing to the winner in Tim Elliott before he got to fight. I think it was DJ there, and Tyson Nam, was tearing up the regional circuit. High level Hawaiian striker, but you touched on it. It's the boxing, man, and it's pretty one dimensional when it comes to his striking. Where Schnell really does mix up that game. He's more of the new breed of fighters where they mix in the takedowns, the wrestling, the striking, much more fluid than Tyson. You would see Tyson Nam do, but you see these guys having to dip at 135 and stuff earlier in their career because we didn't really know the future of the flyweight division. And now that it seems to be back, both of these guys have got a couple wins in a row, and Tyson Nam is coming off a finish of his lifetime and stuff. He said in the interview that he knew he was fighting for his pink slip in that fight, and he came out to show it, man. He set that guy down with a very nice counter right hook, and I think the longer this fight goes, the more I might favor Tyson Nam to get the timing down, to get the read down on Matt Schnell, to land the right hand, because Matt Schnell has been knocked out, I think, in 3 of his 5 losses or something like that, and so both of these guys, have been finished themselves. This is going to be a super good fight, and for 125, this one might not see the judges, man. Both of these guys really do bring some dangerous tools to the game, but for me, I think the Schnell's just massive advantage is going to be on the mat, and just he's he's broad for 125. I think he's stronger, and I think if he can work the clinch game up against the fence, trip him into a takedown, the round that it gets on the ground, I think we see a Schnell submission.
Touching on Tyson Nam, he got welcomed into the UFC by Sergio Pettis. Fuck, you
Right,
know?
yeah.
I mean, that's tough. And then Kai Kara France to follow up. His one win in the UFC, you touched on it, but the dude was 3-1. Like, his entire fight record was 3-1. Don't even know if he should have been in there. I think that last win kind of influenced my immediate decision whenever I saw pick'em odds between Nam and Schnell. And so after looking at it, I almost lean towards Matt Schnell, but I'm going for Tyson Nam. This is my fight of the night pick right here. I think that this is going to be fireworks from start to finish, and I think that even like you said, for the flyweights, I think we see a knockout or a finish at least.
So next fight, man, is Billy Quarantillo, 14-2, fighting Kyle Nelson, 13-3, and you just touched on your fight of the night, man. I know we'll recap it here at the end, but man, that's my fight of the night right there. Them boys like to bring it. Both of them dipped into lightweight and stuff, but now they're back home at featherweight where they both like. Billy Q's coming off the fight with Spike Carlisle, which a bit controversial. I really wouldn't consider it a robbery either way, but just all around weird fight. After Spike walking away, I think early from the bell and then getting dropped, and it was just a weird fight. But Billy Q, man, he is on a 7-fight win streak. He's finished 5 of the fights. And one of those, that he didn't finish is Spark Carlisle, who he was taking, up a weight class. It was just a much thicker guy in there. Spike was huge. Touched on him and Frevola being in camp together and stuff, man. I love the energy that they're going to have. I think he's a much more technical fighter all around between the two. Kyle Nelson, huge for 145 at like 5'11", but the dude just comes out there to brawl, really. He is the 3 losses, we've seen him really taken down and beat up or submitted on the ground, and Billy Q is an excellent submission artist. I like him to get a finish, actually, by taking Kyle Nelson down and either getting a ground and pound win or easy submission win. He tends to have a good fight IQ and try to get the fight where he wants it.
Yeah, so I'm with you. Kyle Nelson, he does kind of have that brawl style. Just a little note that I made right here. He lands 2.7 strikes per minute and absorbs 6.3 strikes per minute.
Man, I put that. He's so sloppy in his exchanges.
He really is. And his only real win in the UFC is against Polo Reyes, which he just, pressured him early and got him back up against the cage and was able to finish him. Billy hasn't lost since 2016 on that 7-fight win streak, like you said. So momentum, he's definitely got that coming into here. He has really good pressure and a huge overhand right that I like when he throws it. I also have Billy getting this done. Kyle, like you said, is a little bit sloppy. One thing that I thought was kind of cool is I have a common opponent in Khama Worthy, who's fighting on the card tonight, and they both have wins over him. So that's something to note, I guess. It's just a cool little fact.
We'll touch on Khama Worthy's chin here in a little while.
Right. So I will take Billy in this one. This is another one where maybe if you'd like to parlay that one with something, that would be a good one, because at a minus 225, I don't necessarily like that straight.
But him and a Via parlay, I really do like that. You're probably getting it around a plus 110. It could be close to pick 'em.
Yeah. So for our next fight, we got Ed Herman versus Mike Rodriguez. Ed Herman's coming to this 24-14. I guess that he might be as experienced as you could possibly ask for. Has a win over Glover Teixeira in 2005, and 15 years later, he's fighting in the UFC still. It's incredible. So this is his 24th walk to the cage. I would say he's similar to Bryan Barberena, where he stands a little bit flat-footed. He allows people to hit him so that he could give a hit. And I don't know how much longer that's going to work for him. I mean, he is kind of inconsistent on his wins. I'm not sold on Ed Herman, but I do like him at a plus 221 price tag, especially against Mike Rodriguez. Now, Mike Rodriguez physically has some substantial advantages over Ed Herman. At an 82.5 reach, I got to think that he's top 5 in UFC for reach. And then So his losses, or his UFC career. So he's 3-2 technically, but of those, one of those three, John Allen, that fight got overturned because he got popped. So realistically, he's 2-3 in the UFC. And his only wins are against Marcin Prachniow in the UFC, are against Marcin Prachniow and Adam Milstead. Marcin is 0-3 in the UFC, and Milstead is 1-3 in the UFC. So really, he's not beating high-level competition even in his UFC fights. And the times that he has faced a higher level of competition, he's come short. I mean, he has a good teep kick. He has really good at keeping that distance management and keeping that teep kick up there, and a good straight left whenever somebody tries to close that distance. I don't think Ed Herman's going to be closing much distance, though. I think that he's much happier sitting on his back foot and planting on his shots. And Rodriguez, I don't like him at a minus 250. I don't think that he's earned that, especially against a guy who's as experienced as Ed Herman. I don't think Ed Herman is physically a better fighter, but I do think that he has the experience where if it gets tricky in there, that he's going to get the dub.
Yeah, man. So you just touched on a great point. Mike Rodriguez has done nothing to earn that minus 250 price tag. Ed Herman has seen a side of the game that Mike Rodriguez just has never seen, and Herman, veteran status, man. I learned this on a little MMA trivia thing. The only fighter with 2 10-plus fight stints in the UFC, man. It is veteran status as it gets. And in my opinion, he beat Gian Vellante. This veteran is on a 3-fight win streak right now to Pat Cummins and Ibragimov. And not only that, man, we touched on Julia Avila's opponent
Herman
changes.
has had 6 opponent changes in 2020.
So right up there with Julia Avila, man. That first fight in 2020 has been quite elusive for him. And for somebody who's 39 years old, with all those fight cancellations, he's had to be in camp for a long time, man. He's probably already started to cut some weight and stuff a couple times. So all that just kind of worries me when it comes to Mike Rodriguez, who's got that big reach advantage, who's 31 and 8 years younger. And with the weight issue or the weight cutting and stuff, if Mike lands, man, really clean, there's nobody that he's not going to knock out. He's coming off a first-round knockout over Marcin Prachniow. I mean, we've seen Prachniow, like you said, be finished, I think, in all 3 of his UFC fights. But Mike Rodriguez is twice the athlete Ed Herman is, in my opinion, and Ed Herman's really got to lean on that veteran status to get it done.
And that's why I like him at a plus 221, is just the vet experience. I think that he'll be able to sit on that back foot and eventually find the timing whenever Mike Rodriguez is closing the distance. That being said, I'm with you. The physical attributes of Mike Rodriguez should get him the victory. It's just if he can, remain perfect for the time that he's in there with a heavy hitter like Herman.
And next fight is Andrea Lee, who's 11-4, fighting Roxanne Modafferi, who's 24-7. Currently, Roxanne is sitting at a big underdog, and she's actually got a win in the past over Andrea Lee. That being said, I don't know if I can play Roxanne Modafferi because she has cost me so much money in the past. She talks and hypes up that strength and conditioning for 6 months on her social media, man, and then, didn't look like it did anything to her. It honestly looked like it took a toll on her body, in my opinion, in that Lauren Murphy fight. Each time I see Roxanne Modafferi, she looks older in there to me. She looks slower in there to me. It looks like the body is really starting to slow down on her. Not really the same for KGB Lee. She's on the coming off 2 close split decision losses. I think she comes in here, honestly, maybe one of the best Andrea Lees we see. Really going to touch her up with a jab, really going to utilize the leg kick, I think, on Roxy, that karate style, and she can avoid the takedown. I like her to piece Roxy up for 15.
Roxy's got one way of winning this fight, and that's by getting the takedown and laying on her. Similar to Carlos Barza, not as good, though. Yeah. Most of Roxy's wins come by decision, and most of her losses come by decision. So I don't see this one being a finish by any means.
Me neither.
And then you touched on Andrea Lee's jab. Man, she's got a great pumping jab and great head movement to go with it. Roxy's so slow whenever she tries to close the distance that I think it'll be relatively easy for Lee to throw that jab out, circle, and keep her at distance. All that being said, Roxy, she wins ones that she's not supposed to, and she loses ones that she's not supposed to. She's got the spottiest record in women's MMA. And it's, you cannot look past the Antonina Shevchenko win. And, I know the Macy Barber, she got injured in that fight, but that's still a dub over Macy Barber. Right. So you got to take that into consideration whenever you see a price tag on a veteran like Roxy at a plus 270.
With the previous win over.
Right.
I know it's, different points in the career, but it's something you have to take into effect. But I still think we're in agreement that maybe 2 different points in their careers right now. And I think Lee's looked better as of late.
Right. Andrea Lee should get this done, although a little sprinkle on Roxy to pull something out of her ass really is there, especially at a almost 3-1 dog. All right, so now we've got Ottman Azaitar coming in at 12-0 versus Khama Worthy, who is 16-6. So about Ottman, his win in the UFC is against Teemu Packalén. Packalén's 1-3 in the UFC, and that loss that he had to Ottman, one of the worst KOs I've ever seen in my life. Stiffened him at like a board, leg was shaking. It was really, really bad. Tough one to watch. Both me and my dad sat back and kind of bit our nails whenever we saw that one. Another thing about Ottman is in that fight, I thought he looked really small in there, like maybe just not as cut up. And then his frame just wasn't as big as Teemu. So I'm curious to see how he looks against Khama, because Khama looked big against Devontae Smith. We got to touch on the Devontae Smith fight. He came in as like the plus 650, and Devontae Smith was the minus 1,000. First round knockout, and Khama did a really, really good job of slowing down Devontae Smith's attacks by using his feints. It made Devontae Smith question everything that he was going to do, and made him a little gun shy. And then the time that they did, it got to the point where the crowd was booing them. And by the time that they did actually engage, Khama just got the
right over the back of the ear.
Right. He just, I don't want to say it's lucky by any means, but that.
16-6 veteran record on Devontae Smith at the time.
Right. But if you ran that Devontae Smith back, I think that he would more than likely lose it. And then his win over Luis Pena. That was
plus 205 dog.
Nice. So that's another like really legit win right there. So I'm happy that he's doing really well in his UFC career, especially that he took that Devontae Smith fight on short notice. Is he better than Azaitar, though? Is he going to give him that one loss? I'm not sure. Khama's got a 3-inch reach advantage, which will really work into his favor, but
not only that, but he's like 5'11", man. He's a couple inches taller. He's got all the size here to give Ottman trouble.
Right. But he also has 6 losses on his record that are just silly, his losses are silly. So I don't feel confident picking Khama. I think that he probably has the physical advantages to beat Ottman. I wouldn't bet on this fight, though. I think I'd stay away from it.
So for me, the only bet you get on this fight is that it doesn't see the judges, man. If you can snag this at anything under minus 200, dude, I would still play it, in my opinion, or parlay it with something. These two guys combined over 30 fights, and combined they've seen the judges 5 times. These guys are not here to see the judges. They're not here to fight for 15 minutes. These guys come out here to perform, and a lot of them, they like to get it done in round 1. We've seen Ottman barely make it out of the round 1, but maybe just a couple times. And touched on the Teemu Packalén, and everybody KOs him recently, so he has not seen the competition of Khama Worthy. You go all the way back to Worthy's record, he's got people like Paul Felder, Matt Passetti, Billy Q, Kyle Nelson, guys that Ottman has not fought, and this fight for me, it's super close, but I see two ways, man. I see Khama really weathering the storm, getting into that second and third round, and see what we saw with Luis Pena, just using that strength, man. He was so much more muscular, just bigger, man, and I really think that size could wear on Ottman as it goes late. That being said, man, of his 6 losses, Khama Worthy's been finished, like knocked out 5 of those times, man. His chin is not something to be in there swinging in the pocket with Ottman Azaitar, because Ottman will put your lights out, and for me, Khama really has to have a really good fight for at least about 8 minutes, and I don't know. I don't know if he can, man. I really do think that these guys are co-main eventing. First co-main event for the two of them after you have him being a plus 650 and a plus 205. Now he's your co-main. These guys are hype, man. These guys are going to come in here and put on a show, I think. But I don't think Khama's chin's going to hold up in one of the exchanges. I like Ottman to put him away.
Yeah, like I said, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I would rather see Ottman win. I like the Moroccan takeover. You got Yusuf Zalal coming in, and then Ottman with a 12-0 record. I don't think I want to see him take a loss yet.
Yeah,
so
I don't either.
Just I wouldn't bet it like I said, but opinion-wise, I would like to see Azaitar get the win here.
And, man, finally, main event of the night, we have the number 8, Michelle Waterson, who's 17-8, fighting the number 12 flyweight, Angela Hill, who's 12-8. Man, a little interesting for the both of us. So we're in Tampa. On the way to the restaurant that we take a picture with Karate Hottie, we pass Angela Hill on the sidewalk. It's crazy, man. And, now they're fighting each other and stuff. Both of these girls really have kind of went on a run and then lost that first one that's going to take them up to the title shot. And you had Michelle Waterson rep off 3 wins in a row and then lose to Joanna Jędrzejczyk there in Tampa. And then you had Hill rep off 3 wins there in 2019 and early 2020 to then lose to Claudia Gadelha. So both of these girls, when it gets to the big fight, they don't tend to perform that well. I know the Claudia was a split decision. It's one that Angela could have arguably won. She dropped Claudia. She almost got the finish. Her striking has been on point, but it's a little different striking than Karate Hottie brings in. She is the more Karate Hottie. She's going to throw a wide range of kicks, whether it's spinning, leg kicks. She's going to throw them to your head, and she has a really good push kick, which you see all the time out of that gym in your boy John Jones's gym,
Jackson Wink.
Yeah, you see the teep kick, the front side kick, the oblique kicks. You see that all the time out of their gym, and coming from that karate style her whole life, she does a great job with it. Now you go to Angela Hill, and it's just the traditional kickboxing style with the left hand, right hand, followed up with a kick. Inside or to end or to start the engagement. But I'm back and forth on it, man. I really am. Both of the girls are good strikers, but they're both 34. So I think both of them really don't have a push to the title anymore. And Michelle is just, man, I don't know. She's just kind of started to taper off for me a little bit. She just doesn't throw the volume that she used to and stuff, and you never see that problem with Angela Hill. The volume's going to be there with Angela Hill, and if the fight's close, I think Angela Hill just gets this with the volume.
So you're taking Angela Hill?
I'm taking Angela Hill.
Okay, so this is where we differ a little bit. I'll take Michelle Waterson here. They're both 34 years old, like you said, kind of coming towards that, make or break time for their career if they ever hope to get a title shot. So here's something that the biggest thing that I noticed was Michelle Waterson. She's coming off those 2 losses to Esparza and Jędrzejczyk. You talked about her kind of being a little gun shy, maybe not producing as much offensively whenever they're fighting. Those are 2 tough girls to do anything against.
They are.
And then her other losses coming to Tisha Torres and Rose Namajunas. Those are her UFC losses, and they all are either held the belt at one point or fought for it. Yeah, or fought for it. Her wins coming over Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Felice Herrick, and Courtney Casey, and Paige Van Zandt, who she finished by rear naked choke. I'd like Michelle Waterson to get this done. There's something that I didn't really take into consideration, but over 50% of Michelle Waterson's fights end by submission.
Yeah, she has great wrestling.
She really does.
A great wrestling gym there.
So I'm curious if that's something that she looks to do. If she doesn't find any success on the feet, she might look to take Angela Hill down and get something done. Now, you talked about her karate stance. She switches her stance so effortlessly. It's incredible. You never know where those kicks are going to come, and she utilizes that front kick like it's a jab. She throws it just effortlessly. It's really cool to watch her fight.
It's a lifetime of work,
Right. Where Angela Hill, she's coming off the split decision loss to Claudia Gadelha. That's the best competition that she's ever fought. I mean, her biggest wins in her entire career are to Hannah Cifers and Ashley Yoder. That doesn't mean anything. And when you look at the resume of Michelle Waterson with the 3 title challengers or 3 title holders and 1 title challenger, how can you fault her for any of those losses? She's been able to step up whenever she fought, that upper echelon of competition with Herrig and KK and everything. So I'm pretty high on Michelle Waterson, and that we're getting her at a plus 110. I think that it's the odds makers looking at her last 2 fights against 2 of the best girls in the division.
Yeah, so you talked on her being gun shy with the spars, so the threat of that takedown, you're never going to throw anything.
Especially a kick, which is her bread and butter.
You see Connor with Khabib, you get gun shy when that threat of the takedown's there. But just I think the volume that Angela Hill is going to throw at her is going to resemble that of Young Jacek. It's going to be a whole lot of 1-2s down the middle that I think is not going to allow Waterson to get a lot off for the fight. I think we don't really have a cardio issue for either of these girls, but I think Angela Hill can go a harder 25 minutes than Michelle Waterson can. I think the energy will be at a little higher level, and at the point where, this is her 4th walk of 2020. She made a walk 4 times in 2019. This girl's the most consistent fighter on the UFC's roster right now, period. Men and women. And to see a girl who's just really feeling herself, a split decision loss that a lot of people thought she won. She's getting job behind the commentating table and stuff now. I really think her career is, even though it's at 34, it's getting to the point where she wants it. And I think Angela Hill's really riding this wave of confidence that she has right now, where I can't really say the same for Michelle.
And I definitely see that. One thing that Angela Hill has going for her, I think she's probably one of the more athletic girls in the division. Just a pure athlete. And then I touched on how Michelle Waterson might look to get it to the ground. Angela Hill has a 73% takedown defense. It's pretty legit.
Absolutely.
A common opponent in Courtney Casey, where Hill has a loss to and Waterson has a win. It's who we see come out there with Waterson. I personally think she's the more well-rounded fighter.
I agree.
I think that, these last 2 fights, it's tough to make a call because you just don't know if she had peaked and now she's on the downfall, or if it was just the level of competition she was facing. Until I see Angela Hill fight somebody who is on that, even close to that level, I can't go with her just because the first time that she gets a somewhat step up in Claudia Gadelia, she gets the loss to. It was a split decision loss and controversial, but I like Waterson, and I especially like her at a plus 110.
So on the fence, splits on that one. I got Angela Hill on Saturday, and he's got Waterson. So very interesting one for us to watch. I'm excited for that one, man. You got a fight. I know we already touched on it, but what's the fight to watch for you?
Yeah, my fight of the night right here is Tyson Nam versus Matt Schnell. I need that one to be good, and I need Tyson Nam to get it done. That would really help me out financially if he got it done.
So for me, said Billy Q and Kyle Nelson, both of those guys. Billy Q finishing 5 of his last 7 fights, and the brawling style Kyle Nelson brings forward. Both these guys are going to put on a good fight for us. One that I absolutely don't see going to the judges, but I like Billy Q to actually keep it smart in here and to not play into that firefight that Kyle Nelson's going to bring in, and to take him down and get the ground and pound submission win. But that's a good fight to watch, man, because it really does have potential that if Billy Q gets drawn into that style Kyle has, it's going to be a fun fight.
Is there a fighter that you are looking for?
Yeah, so my fighter that I'm looking at on Saturday, it's got to be my boy Steamroller, man. You're getting your third opponent over like 6-1 and stuff. You're almost counted out in almost all of these, man, and I love watching him come in there and just stick to the game plan and take these guys down and expose them. I'm all for Matt Frevola on Saturday.
Okay, so mine is Brok Weaver. I like Brok Weaver. He's got great energy, and he needs this win for his career to stay in the UFC. This will be his opportunity. I think his sole opportunity to get an actual win in the UFC, and I'm okay with seeing Frank Camacho hit the road.
Yeah, so good fights going Saturday, like we said, almost slept on. And then as we started getting to these notes, man, this is going to be a good fight. I think there's going to be a ton of finishes. Make sure everybody stays, watching on Saturday, and we're always going to be tracked at betmma. So make sure to tell us on that. We're having, really good return on investment right now. The past 2 events have been good. Looking to keep the streak alive, and follow us on Twitter and everything. Anything you want to add?
We're like 50 subscribers away from 100. Whenever we get 100, we're doing a giveaway for a signed Robbie Lawler versus Matt Brown UFC on Fox 12.
It'll be posted back here pretty soon, but it's not just signed by them two. I think the whole main card fighters and signed it as well. So as soon as we get to 100 subscribers, it's one of y'all's for free. Sweet. Hope you guys are watching Saturday and hope y'all make some money.
Heck yeah. Peace.